Smartphone gaming is something that we talk about all day, every day, with the likes of PUBG Mobile and Fortnite being present on all our phones nowadays. But if you're like me and you've gotten a little bored of all the Battle Royale games we play, you're probably thinking of how to make things more interesting. So today we're going to do exactly that while taking a trip down nostalgia lane. And we're going to look at games which we've all played at some point of time in our childhood growing up, and now we can play them too on our Android phones. When we talk about retro gaming, the first name that comes to mind is Prince of Persia. Well, because it's probably one of the first games that you played on PC and the one that got you hooked to gaming forever. On mobile, the experience is not quite the same because the controls are not as intuitive. In fact, sometimes in intricate positions it's a little difficult to control. And as you go up the ranks and as you start facing the boss, the controls become a bit difficult to manage. But apart from that, you get the gameplay experience that you once did back in the PC, and graphics, well, they are arguably better because now you're playing on more high resolution screens than you did on PC. All in all, we think that it's a pretty engaging experience and one that every gamer who grew up in the 90s will savor. The second in the lot is Dangerous Dave. Of course, if you've ever played games on a PC or you've owned a Windows PC at some point of time, which we assume that all of us have, nobody can really forget Dangerous Dave. It was one of the most favorite games that we've all played at home, at cyber cafes, or even in computer tuitions. The objective was to get Dave, who's pretty dangerous, through 10 levels of varying difficulties, the first one being pretty straightforward, and then you start facing monsters, fiery obstacles, gunshots and the likes, and as you proceed the levels get increasingly tougher. The controls on Dangerous Dave are easier to use than Prince of Persia, and that's probably because the game is laid out in the landscape format. But on the overall sense, controls here are a problem as well because you're basically controlling with 3 or 4 arrows on the screen, which sometimes take a little too long to respond. Apart from that, the gameplay experience is really cool and it gives a brilliant throwback to the 90s. The third game in the list is Crazy Taxi, which is made by Sega. Sega, of course, is remembered as console legends or the forefathers of the gaming console. Crazy Taxi was one of the most fun games on the platform, and it remains to be so even on mobile. The controls here are easier to play than Prince of Persia and Dave, and gives a pretty engaging experience to the overall gameplay. Now, you have 4 characters from which you can choose 4 different cars, and each of them respond to the road and the controls in a different way. But the difference is not very evident to make out. On an overall term, this is a game that you can play just to casually pass your time, but not one that will keep you engaged in the long run. Nevertheless, it's still fun to see Sega make a return to gaming. Now, among the all-time favorites in the list are Mario, Pac-Man and Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. While Sonic has not enjoyed as viral a popularity as Mario and Pac-Man, it is still a brilliant game to play and arguably has the best gameplay and graphics in the list of retro games that we've been playing. Mario needs no introduction and it's been played on a wide range of platforms and over a wide span of time. For Pac-Man, well, it is another nostalgic experience to play Pac-Man on mobile, and it has been around, so it's not a new thing for gamers per se. Pac-Man eating up all the enemies is never out of fashion, of course. Nevertheless, if you're looking for retro games to play on your phone, Mario and Pac-Man have no competition. They provide a forever engaging experience with a storyline that's a favorite for all of us. Pac-Man in particular can be played at anywhere without having to put in too much effort into how you go about your strategies. For Sonic the Hedgehog, well, it is arguably one of the best graphical gameplays in terms of retro games available in the world right now. And Mario is something that we've been playing across a wide range of platforms, and it still provides us as engaging an experience as always. Now, these games were never really forgotten, and we've often ended up discussing them from time to time. After all, they've given us some of our most favorite memories of childhood. And now, with them being available on smartphones, you know exactly what games to play if you get bored of chicken dinners every day.